You probably think the king of gaming is the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X, but right now, a tiny black box that sits under your TV is quietly starting a war it might actually win. I'm talking about the Apple TV 4K. While everyone was looking at Sony and Microsoft, Apple updated their hardware with chips so fast they make the old consoles look like calculators. The latest leaks show a new model is coming with the A17 Pro or even an M-series chip. This isn't just for watching Netflix anymore. Last year's Apple TV used the A15 chip, which was already faster than a Nintendo Switch. But the new version, it's bringing hardware-accelerated ray tracing. That's the fancy tech big consoles use to make light and shadows look real. Compare the price. A PS5 costs $500 and is the size of a microwave. The Apple TV costs around $130, uses almost no power, and is totally silent. In the first minute of using it, you realize the gap is closing. While Xbox and PlayStation rely on selling you big, expensive boxes, Apple is just putting console-grade games like Resident Evil Village and Death Stranding directly onto their TV box. They aren't trying to build a better console. They are making the console unnecessary for the average person. This story is backed by major reports from across the tech world. According to MacRumors, Apple is working on a new version of the Apple TV for 2024 that focuses on a much more powerful processor to handle high-end gaming. 9 to 5 Mac has reported that Apple's Metal FX upscaling is their secret weapon to make mobile games look like 4K console games without needing a massive GPU. Bloomberg's Mark Gurman has confirmed that Apple is pushing harder into the living room with smarter, faster hardware designed to bridge the gap between phones and TVs. On X, the well-known analyst Minkai Kuo posted that the next Apple TV will be even cheaper, possibly under $100, to kill off the competition. Another leaker, Analyst 941, shared details about Apple testing a dedicated gaming controller to bundle with the TV. HeckReview on X also pointed out that the GPU benchmarks for Apple's latest chips are now beating many mid-range laptops, which means the Apple TV has more brain power than we ever expected for a streaming device. Digital Foundry also noted that Apple's integration of the A17 Pro chip allows for features like mesh shading, which is exactly what the newest Xbox and PlayStation titles use to render complex worlds. Think about the last time you turned on a console. You had to wait for a 50 GB update. You had to hear the fans screaming like a jet engine. With the Apple TV, everything is just there. It's always on. It's always updated. The flow of the software is so much smoother than the clunky menus on an Xbox. And let's talk about the ecosystem. If you have an iPhone or an iPad, you already own the games. You don't have to buy a TV version. You start playing Resident Evil on the train on your phone. You get home, and you pick up exactly where you left off on your 65-inch TV with a PlayStation or Xbox controller connected via Bluetooth. Apple isn't asking you to change how you live. They are just making gaming a part of what you already own. Specs are where it gets really scary for Sony and Microsoft. The Apple TV's chip is built on a 3-nanometer process. In simple words, it's way more efficient than the chips inside a PS5. It produces almost no heat. While the PS5 needs giant heatsinks and fans, Apple is doing almost the same work in a box you can hide in your pocket. Yes, the PS5 has more raw power for now, but most people don't care about raw power. They care about how easy it is to play. Apple is making gaming as easy as opening YouTube. They are adding game mode to the software, which cuts down input lag so much that you can't even feel the delay. Xbox and PlayStation should be worried because Apple doesn't need to sell a billion consoles to be successful. They already have millions of people with the Apple TV in their homes. All Apple has to do is flip a switch and give people a reason to download a big game instead of a movie. With the new chips, the big games are finally here. We are seeing Assassin's Creed Mirage running on Apple hardware. That was a console-only dream just 2 years ago. If you're looking to buy a console today, you really have to ask yourself, do I want a giant, expensive box that only does one thing? Or do I want a tiny, cheap box that does everything, works with my phone, and is getting more powerful every single year? The era of the quiet console is here, and Apple is leading the charge. They aren't shouting about it, but they are winning. Keep an eye on the next Apple event, because the specs we're seeing in the leaks suggest that the gap between mobile and console is about to vanish forever. If you already have an Apple TV, you might be sitting on the most underrated gaming machine ever. Don't be surprised when your favorite AAA games start showing up in the App Store next to Netflix and Hulu. It's happening way faster than anyone expected.